Okay friends, it's time to get started on replacing our headlamp assembly. To do that, we're going to go ahead and pop the hood. After that, we're going to use a 10mm socket to remove our two mounting bolts. You'll find a long one right here, and then a nice short one located inside this hole. Okay, we'll carefully pull that out. If you had a hard time, generally it's due to this area right here. That actually needs to press right into this area in the body of the vehicle. Now as you start pulling this away, you're going to want to look for this main wiring harness right here. To start removing this, you're going to go ahead and grab onto that blue tab, carefully pull it out of the locked position. Next, we're going to grab onto this tab right here. I'm going to try to lift this up. You can use a pocket screwdriver or whatever you need. While we lift it, we're just going to go ahead and separate the two. Inspect the wiring harness. If you see any funny colors, it's corrosion and it would need to be dealt with. Now at this point, we can take this, we're going to put it right up on top, and we can start taking it apart the rest of the way. Looking at this from the back side, you can see that we do have more wiring that lead to each of our bulbs. Now if you're going to be transferring over your bulbs, you just go ahead and grab onto the wiring harness, turn it counterclockwise, and go ahead and pop it right out of this mounting hardware. Obviously you want to inspect that. Make sure that the bulb still looks like it's in good working order. If you see issues that look like this, that pretty much means that you need to replace that bulb. Somebody touched it with their greasy fingers and it burnt the bulb. That's very bad. Let's continue on to removing all the rest. That one looks pretty good. Pop that one out of there as well, inspect that. Now the next thing we're going to have to do is go ahead and get this entire wiring harness right off of the back of this. To do that, you're going to find several little push tabs that you want to go ahead and pull out. That's what it looks like. It's pretty basic. Your kit should come with some new ones, so you can go ahead and recycle these. Set that aside. Now we can carefully grab onto this wiring. You're going to notice down along this area right here that it should still be attached. There's a little clip. Generally, I just carefully grab onto this, give it a little wiggle, and we can go ahead and remove this entire wiring harness from the back of the headlamp assembly. All right, so there's our original assembly. Let's grab the new one. Okay, now it's time to install our brand new headlamp assembly. Obviously, we're going to come right in from the back, and we're going to put in our bulbs with that wiring harness. So here we go. I went ahead and put in some brand new bulbs because of course you saw the original ones and they weren't very good. Now the one that makes its way all the way down here is where I'm going to start. Lock that in. Make sure all three of your tabs are securely behind this area. Sometimes the hardest part is just getting the tabs lined up originally. There we are. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this wiring, and you can see that I'm sliding it inside this ridge right here. It goes right inside there. Comes up along here. We can put this along here as well. Now the next thing we're going to do is take some of those plastic push tabs that came with our kit. We're going to carefully slide it down and through. Listen for that click. Give the wire a little tug just to make sure it's safely secured behind this area. We'll do the same to this one, pushing it back as far as we can. Line it up, lock it down. This one, press it down, lock it in. Now we'll come right over to this area. I'm going to put my bulb in first. Lock that in counterclockwise. Now we can see we have our locking tab here. That just slides over this area. Now before we can go ahead and put in our brand new headlamp assembly, I want you to pay attention in this area right here of the fender. You can see this large hole. And that's pretty much where the piton on the back side of the headlight needed to go into, and then of course we had to pry to separate it. Now in this area there should actually be a plastic mounting piece right here that typically you just grab with some pliers or whatever you have and carefully just go ahead and pop it out, because on the brand new headlamp assembly you're going to notice that it came with a new piece. With that said, now we can move along to connecting in the wiring. We'll listen for a click. There it is. Give that a nice tug to make sure it's secure, and of course lock it in. Now we can go ahead and take this piece right here. We're going to slide it into that area of the fender that I talked to you about. Should want to slide right in. We'll go ahead and put this upper portion down and into position as well. And then just give it a loving bonk inward to lock it in. Now we can start putting in our mounting bolts. We'll start both of these in before we snug either of them up. Okay, so at this point it's completely installed in the vehicle. A couple last things that I want to mention is this area right here and this one right over there are your alignment points for the beams of your lamps. So just keep that in mind. When you go ahead and test them, you want to make sure you test them towards a wall and make sure they're aiming in the proper direction. Now let's test to make sure they function properly. Okay, so let's test those lights. Headlights, we got our directional, high beam. This is going to be a general tutorial on how to aim your brand new TRQ headlamp assemblies. Okay, so looking at your brand new TRQ headlamp assembly, you're going to see where your low beam is, and you'll see a little dot right in the center. And that is the axis point, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to mark that with an erasable marker, just so it's easier to see. Next, what we need to do is measure from the level ground up to this point and take note of that measurement. Now we're just going to pull the car up to our wall. On our vehicle, we remember that the measurement was 28 inches for our access point. Your vehicle may be different, but that's where I'm going to put this tape, just above that 28 inches. We'll do the same on the other side. Okay, so let's just back the vehicle up, straight back 25 feet from the wall. And now that we moved our vehicle 25 feet back from the wall, we're going to start with our measurement here. That's where the headlamp center is. We're going to go down 4 inches on the driver's side. On the passenger side, we have our line here. What we need to do is go down 2 inches. To adjust the driver's side, we're going to cover our passenger side headlamp. If you look at the back side of your headlamp assembly, you're going to see something that looks like this. This is the adjustment. Some of these headlight assemblies have 1, 2, or even more of them, but you should at least have 1. This is how we're going to adjust the headlight beam. Now we're going to lower the top part of the beam down to just below this line. When you turn the adjustment to the right, it brings the beam up, and if you turn it to the left, it'll bring the headlight beam down. And this is this way on most vehicles. Let's continue on to doing the passenger side. All right, we properly aligned our TRQ headlamp assemblies. Okay, and on the quality TRQ headlamps for a pickup truck, the procedure is going to be the same. You're going to find your center dot, mark it, and then you'll measure from the level ground up to your dot. So once your headlamps are properly adjusted, it'll be time to adjust your fog lamps. You'll notice on the driver's side, the focal point is all the way at the bottom right now. I would like to bring it up so it meets up with approximately the bottom of the focal point of the headlight. Some fog lamps have an adjuster, others don't. The ones that do have an adjuster, you would just turn the adjustment to the left or to the right to adjust the beam up and down to where it needs to be. Now with your TRQ headlamps and fog lamps properly aligned, you can drive down the road safely.